I feel really thankful for the invitation today. It's a gift of recognition of my unique gifts that I have to contribute to the world. So this is for a mind-body wellness technique, which is like a 10 or 15 minute a day practical answer to you family's well-being. I create and nourish with awareness so that you are your own hero, giving your unique self to the world. And a few ways on how I do this is comfort the afflicted, non-invasively afflict the comfortable, along with other things, self-care techniques. So these are 5 techniques that include a 3-brain balance. The techniques also include resetting the stress threshold of the body, balancing water in the body, and then balancing the body chemistry or the microbiome, as well as a whole body centering of reciprocals, the way that the meridians interface with the muscles in the skeletal system. So the origin of these techniques is that they're inherently designed in the universe. We're working with a built-in heart coherence. The tapping, like I show in that video, comes from sadhu, which are like the sages of India that use tapping. Most of you might be familiar with EMDR, how Francine integrated that with trauma for veterans. HeartMath is the largest body of scientific evidence of the energetics of the heart and how the heart holds the information through the magnetic field that actually tells the whole system how to operate, which then Body Talk and John Veltheim integrated all this in together. So the daily routine of this technique is that doing these 2 to 3 weeks until the body and mind feels more balanced and centered. And then for maintenance and prevention of illness or sickness or mental health issues like depression, grief, you can tap out the first 4 techniques 1 to 3 days a week. And here you can see people doing this in a dance group. Children can do it on one another. Babies are really responsive to it as well. So the benefits is really located on different aspects of the body mind, not just the physical body. So we're addressing the vital body, the mental body, the supramental body. These are all terms from a physicist named Amit Goswami, who wrote a book called The Quantum Doctor. And this has to do with something called downward causation. Downward causation is the causal relationship from higher levels of a system to the lower parts. And so this means that the physical disease is the last form of manifestation and dysfunction of not having enough awareness for the body to function the way that nature intended. And on the left here, you can see a lot of the medications, for example. This is working in the atomic or the molecules chemistry of this downward causation aspect. And what I'm working with here has to do with consciousness and quantum physics integrated into healthcare. So we're influencing it at a much deeper level. So the studies that were done through the International Body Talk Association for these techniques, children calm down, aches and pains disappear. There's increased clarity because the heart is coherent. The hemispheres of the brain are communicating with one another. And subtle changes are things like better sleep, improved digestion, because we're doing tapping over the intestines, and the intestines digest information, not just food. So it helps it release it, especially when it comes to things like grief, because that is usually located in the intestines, because the colon has to do with letting go its program, as well as the metal element in Chinese medicine. So the tapping, or what's known in the medical literature as vagal nerve stimulation, is that it makes our immune system stronger. It prevents other health issues, resilience. It helps with And subtle changes is that it's going to decrease medical bills because it's free and anybody can learn this. So these techniques are not going to replace professional medical treatment or full sessions that people would do with me. So the routine would be of doing these techniques is like a weekly body mind update. A lot of people get updates on their phones and their computers. And so these techniques are updating the information, the energy, the consciousness of the body mind. We need that update with ourselves, not just our technology. The tapping that we do that I've shared in that YouTube video, this facilitates communication required throughout the body and the cells and stores that memory in the changes being made. And I'll go through each technique briefly. So the 3-brain coherence technique, this is the most critical of the 5. This is the most commonly used technique in the Body Talk system. And here you could see us doing that at the ARC meeting, people doing it while they're hiking, people do it in yoga classes now. And the underlying theory is that all disease has a functional relationship with the brain, or it's reflected in the brain. And everything that's problematic with the body is reflected in the brain as faulty activity. For any of you that have read Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by neurologist Daniel Amen, he's shown the scientific studies and brain scans that these various symptoms cause cold spots of diminished blood supply or cellular activity in the brain. This other book here, Why Isn't My Brain Working, is one of my favorite neurology books that I highly, highly recommend as well. So the next technique is the resetting the stress threshold. So switching or the body helping us get tired or prevent some kind of injury is a normal biological protective or warning mechanism of the body to stop us from overtaxing so we don't injure ourselves. And the brain will constantly reset after a stressor is passed and it will restore the normal function. So a lot of blue light, in schools that have that fluorescent light, screen time, blue light, overworking, these are things that can influence people to switch at different levels. Their threshold can be too high or too low, and the brain can switch too often or too easily. So this technique helps to normalize that stress threshold and reduce the total stress levels and then balance the left and right side of the body, because we're specifically working with kidney meridians in this technique, which have a huge influence on the vital body of our anatomy. The next technique I'll share is balancing water in the body, which is one of my favorite. This technique helps to enable water to cross the cellular membrane and move out toxins. And water is life, right? So you take the water out of something, there's no life. So it improves a lot of things in the body that you're probably familiar with. And this is because hydration is not only about how much water you drink, it's actually about the size and the way that the water is structured and how that water is absorbed through the cell membrane via aquaporins, or what are also known as water channels on the membrane of the cell. The other technique I'll be showing you is the microbiome and the body chemistry balancing technique. This is taking saliva, putting it in the navel, and doing a brain balancing technique that helps the brain locate and respond to viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungi, allergies, and intolerances. And so we're not treating these factors. This is a technique that by putting that saliva, which contains all the information in the body, in the navel, is the original in-out pathway. Think of the umbilical cord. thousands of nerve endings there. It registers the information from the saliva. And so we simply highlight the presence of these microbiome and body chemistry factors in the body. And this activates our white blood cells, T cells in the immune system, and then locates that area in the brain to recognize that that body chemistry needs to be balanced. The other technique I'll be sharing is the whole body centering technique. And these are mirroring points of the joints in the meridian system in the body. And they represent a key pair of focal points that give feedback to the brain that maintain posture, coordination, and extrinsic energy communication. So extrinsic just means like right above the skin, there's a vital body anatomy that we have called the Wei Qi that interfaces with the environment, how we actually get energy and qi that transfers into physiological energy in our body. And this improves many things because we're touching and linking a lot of different meridian points. So you can read through this in the PDF if you'd like afterwards. So this whole body centering technique, the regular tapping out of the reciprocals goes a long way in correcting blown circuits in the meridians and can result in many improvements in posture. The final technique I'll be sharing is the first aid technique. And this is a combination of the 3 brain balancing and the whole body centering. And this can be applied in emergency situations. So if it's a minor cut or a scrape or a burn, doing and learning this in teaching kids or friends or family members may be all that is required to stop the pain or bleeding. And the 3 brain balancing technique, which I shared in the chat here, the link to the video on YouTube, this technique by itself can reduce impact to accident victims going into shock. So someone in a car accident, someone who's fallen off a ladder or fell down maybe. These principles can be used with pets and animals in emergency situations as well. On the left, this is a case study of a dog that its back legs didn't work, and then they did this technique, of course, doing a session with it, and within 2 weeks, it could walk and run again, and that's online to watch on YouTube. So when to do these techniques, the more stressed you feel, the more often you want to do them during high periods of stress. If that's happening, it's recommended to go through the whole regimen daily, or during flu season, injury, illness, emotional upset, or other health challenges. But really, the intention for these techniques is preventing illness and actually improving or strengthening coherence, improving this resilience. So doing them routinely is going to help the whole body, mind, and this will result in a reduction of symptoms and lead to greater improved general health. People are sometimes interested in, well, how did you get into this? I got my Reiki certification in 2008, kind of started all this for me. And I'm an advanced body talk system practitioner. I got certified by the International Body Talk Association in 2009 and have been continually studying this information, facilitating for about 12 years. I've also completed a Resonance Academy Unified Science course by Nassim Haramein, which integrates biology and quantum physics, which is something I'm really passionate about. And this year I completed all the Center for Integral Wisdom courses. You can look up my credentials on Credly. This is a think tank for evolving a global ethic for a global civilization.